Hello and welcome to my channel, and holy crap, what is going on with my sound levels? Hi, testing.
What?
Okay, I don't know what's going on. Someone was saying that my countdown was at a lower volume, but then when we came in, we were both clipping. Hello. Yeah, it looks kind of clippy.
Hmm. Yeah, I have no idea what to do with that.
Okay, I don't know. I didn't change any settings, and I don't fucking care today. I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood to
Fair
figure out.
enough.
We're just gonna have a crappy audio clippy loud stream thing after having an extra quiet thing. Who am I kidding? I'm gonna be fiddling with my knobs the entire stream.
You're just like, I can do it. I don't need to fix it. It's fine. It's fine. It was not fine.
Yeah. Okay, well, before we get into the mainstream, I have a surprise for you.
I don't like any surprise you've ever given me.
No?
No,
I mean,
I don't think it's going to start now either.
well, I don't know. I have. Do you know what this is?
No,
No? You don't know what this is?
it looks like is that is that the new king's fucking visage on money?
No, not on money. On a Christian pamphlet. This is the Living Waters tract. No, Answers in Genesis. Ray Comfort was promoting it, but it came from Answers in Genesis. I saw they're giving it away for free, so I'm like,
Okay.
I may as well waste some of their money and pick up a massive stack of these things.
Oh my god.
That was the smallest. This was the smallest bunch that came in. It, but yeah. So this is the £1 million King Charles note that they were handing out. That says, I'm just gonna read it. I'm going in cold here. I have not read. I have no idea what's on this thing. It says, during the coronation, King Charles honors the Bible, in which God promised to destroy death. To understand how he destroyed death, answer these questions. Have you ever lied, stolen, or used God's name in vain? So it's the normal Ray Comfort shtick.
Oh my god.
Jesus said, whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. I've committed so much heart adultery. So much.
My avatar has caused a lot of problems for a lot of people in that regard, and I don't apologize. That was a you problem the entire time.
Not a me problem. I wouldn't look at your avatar that way, Cirrus, because I see you as a human. No, that's not a human. Never mind. I was going to say I see you as a human being, but that doesn't really work, does it? No, you do have cute tits.
Hold on. I can fix all of the problems right now.
Oh no, what have I done?
I can fix the problems right now.
Oh, I thought you were going to like have more obvious tits. Okay.
No, now I just am the tit.
With two nipples. Okay. Anyway, if you have ever done these things, God sees you as a lying, thieving, blasphemous adulterer at heart, and he will punish you in a terrible place called hell. Well, that says more about God than it does about me.
It really kind of does. God doesn't like these things, okay? But I've played Among Us, so what if I like lying?
Yeah, Among Us is basically gaslighting the video game.
Mm-hmm.
But he is not willing that any should perish. Well, if he's not willing that any should perish, he shouldn't have built hell in the first place. Like, he's the one that decided to make creatures in a way that would cause him to get it so angry that he needs to send them to hell. So if he doesn't want them to go to hell, he could have just not done that.
I mean, we constantly hear, "Hey, it's not God's fault. These are the rules." Okay, but they're the rules he wrote.
Yeah, who wrote the rules? Yeah, so sinners broke God's law, but here's the gospel, in brackets, good news, because nobody's heard the word gospel in England before. Jesus paid their fine. This means their case can be dismissed. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Then Jesus rose from the dead, defeating death. Today, repent and trust Jesus, and God will give you eternal life. Then read the Bible daily and obey it. Oh, don't do that. You will end up in prison.
If you read the Bible daily, sure, whatever. If you obey the Bible 100%, I mean, you're gonna have to be really selective with what that means. Otherwise, there's some awkward things that are gonna happen.
Yeah,
Some real awkward things.
I've read enough of Leviticus to know that obeying the Bible is not a good way to live your life. God will never fail you. Don't miss the Living Waters podcast and YouTube channel. Over 200 million views. Livingwaters.com. I guess this is from Living Waters, even though I got it from Answers in Genesis.
I mean, it makes sense that Ray Comfort would definitely be fine collabing with literally anyone. I mean, I can imagine like Kent Ham and Ken Hovind both just collaborating with Ray Comfort with no issue.
Yeah, let's see. He has over 200 million views. I've got about 30 million. Not too shabby, I guess.
I wonder.
God damn it!
What?
I have 666 uploads. I didn't do anything special for my 666th video.
Oh. I'm actually curious. How do you YouTube Studio figuring out how many views? I want to figure out if I can boast the same bona fides as Ray Comfort.
I'm on Social Blade, man.
You're on Social Blade? Well,
yeah.
Shit. Then let me just go to Social Blade then.
I mean, I think it's in the analytics for YouTube. You just go to I guess views and then do for whole channel life, I think. I don't know, but yeah, I just went to Social Blade.
Okay, I can't boast the same bona fides as him. I'm at 15 million views. I'm sad.
I have twice as many views as you.
You also almost have twice as many subscribers, so it goes to show.
Yeah, well, you bring in a bigger live audience.
I mean, that is where most of my focus is, though, whereas your focus is more on edited.
I also neglect my live channel. I'm supposed to be like cutting these things up into clips and uploading them, but I never do.
You mean, you could do, right? You could just grab the cut up clips from my channel and upload them.
That thought has crossed my mind.
I mean, go ahead and do it. It's work from both of us. I don't care how it gets used afterwards.
Oh, it feels smarmy though, taking the thumbnail.
I mean, I can literally just be like, "Hey Yara, are you okay with this?"
No. I mean, like, I don't want to have two identical videos with the exact same thumbnail. That just like we got to trick people into watching it twice.
Oh, fair enough. that gives me an idea. I could just be like, "Hey Yara, can you make 2 thumbnails for these?" I say that because on my video where we were talking about the is capitalism about greed?
Yeah.
She actually submitted 2 thumbnails. One of them was us in front of like a big pile of cash, whereas the other one was the one we settled on was the Coconut Island meme instead. So there actually are 2 thumbnails for that one. Just be like, "Hey Yara, are you okay with me paying you twice for work?"
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so before we get into the proper news stories, the story that didn't make the list but we still wanted to talk about was there's a Publix in, I want to say it was Florida, one of the shithole states.
Hey, I mean, you're right, but hey.
Yeah, well, you know. There was a Publix where someone went in and they wanted to get a cake that on it said trans people deserve joy. Mm-hmm. And this trans person who's going in to get a cake saying trans people deserve joy had an employee of Publix look them in the eye and basically say, "No, you don't deserve joy." Like, they didn't say that. They were like, "Oh, well, company policy doesn't allow us to take a stance on whether or not people deserve joy." So, actually, they what they ended up doing was just writing. They wrote "people deserve joy" on it, and then left space and gave them icing so that they could write "trans" themselves.
Oh my what? Okay.
Did you actually not hear the story?
No, I didn't. The reason I still wanted to cover it personally was because I used to work for Publix right next to the bakery because I worked in the deli, so I was right next to where that shit would have happened.
Okay, so Naramdaput says Florida isn't a shithole, it's an alligator hole. I'll have you
Alligator
know
shit.
that alligators have cloacas, so they only have one hole for everything. So by definition, an alligator hole is a shithole. It's just also a piss hole and a cum hole and a everything else hole.
Think about that whenever you're making your furry art, guys.
Neither
Also,
of us are reptilians, so we're good.
before we continue, Rhino, there's something important that I need to show you. I need you to know that because of my audience, you have been bred.
I like bread.
Well, good, because if you check Discord,
I thought I was joking.
Okay. You are bred.
Okay. Now I have to show that on stream. And now I have to go through the effort of putting it in my friggin' thing. Okay.
I'm sorry for ruining your day.
Well, let's get to the articles thing first. Add image. Where's image? There we are. Create new. Browse. I wish there was an easier way to do this. There probably is, and I just don't know it, but... Oop, nope. Back.
Hey,
Smaller,
ears!
Smaller. Ooh, let's keep it hidden for now until I get it to the right size. Bread.
You are bred.
Bread. I have been bred.
You have been.
Someone with a breeding fetish is going to clip that and use it for nefarious purposes.
There are people with breeding fetishes in my audience right now, and I know they're going to do that.
I mean, we've been over this before. I'm okay with that. They can do what they like. You can take anything that I say out of context and use it for whatever purposes you want. That's my official permission.
That's a lot of power to hand somebody.
That is a lot of power. I'm gonna... They're gonna come back with, like, individual syllables of mine put together so I'm saying the N-word. Those syllables were each out of context, and he gave me permission to use them all out of context, so...
Fucking hell.
Okay. Anyway, did you know fetuses are employees now?
I did actually read a little bit of this one. Why? All it takes is a car crash, and suddenly a fetus is a person.
Yeah. So so this person was killed in an accident at work, and can we just talk about how crazy, like, this is just a throwaway line in some of the articles that cover this. Like, I read several of the articles, and most of them don't even mention it. The ones that do, it's just like one line. But apparently you can't sue an employer for accidental death if the person who died is an employee who was on the clock when they died. Like,
so the kid obviously was on the clock. You know,
yeah,
the kid who wasn't born yet.
Forget about the kid. Forget about fetuses for now. Just think of it from a workers' rights perspective. Like, if you die due to an accident at work, your employer cannot be liable for accidental death? What the fuck is that?
That's America.
Like, that seems like the reason that accidental death would exist as a category.
You would think that,
not an exemption from it.
But again, this is America. We need to make sure that the profit motive is the only thing anybody cares about. You want to move to
England? Want to move to England? I got £1 million for you. I have trillions of pounds. My God, that's gonna make a nasty thunk every time I do that, and I'm gonna do it on purpose.
I'm good. I don't want to go to Turf Island today.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're not really great either. I mean, they're better than the U.S. because at least they have universal health care. But I mean, the Brexit thing is kind of a slow burn, fucking them over.
And the NHS is a kind of sort of on healthcare, because what's been happening there is that the Tories have been trying, and to an extent Labour as well, actually, have been spending a lot of time gutting the NHS. And then using the gutting of the NHS to be an argument for why they don't need the NHS. Like, look at the failures of the NHS. It's not equipped to handle our issues. We need the private sector to intervene.
How about you equip them to handle the issues?
The private sector can do it.
No, it can't. Private sector fucked up. I forget whether I did this for a video or whether I was just arguing with someone on Twitter. Those two things kind of get merged in my mind sometimes. But I recently looked into the stats again, and it's like Americans always bring up Canadian wait times. I mean, like, oh, Canadians wait longer for healthcare on average than Americans. Like, okay, well, first off, like, number one point, if you factor in how long Americans wait while saving up money to pay for their healthcare, I'd be willing to bet that American wait times are longer. They just register from when you start to actively seek care to when you get care, not when you realize you have a problem, but you don't have the money for it, so you need to save up the money. Like that doesn't get included in the wait times. I imagine if you get that, if you put that together, it'll at least be equivalent. But when you actually look more into it, it turns out that Canada's a bad comparison because of the socialized healthcare countries, ours kind of sucks. So you go somewhere like, say, I forget whether it was Sweden or Switzerland. I'm sorry. I always get those two confused because they both start with S and end with land. No, they don't. Sweden does not end with land. What the fuck is wrong with me?
It's Swedenland.
Swedenland.
Yeah.
They both start with S, so it's similar enough for me. I'm sorry that I always get them mixed up. But like whichever one of those, it has completely socialized healthcare. And Scott Dillahunt says Sweeland. So it's they have completely socialized healthcare, and they have the lowest wait times of any developed nation. So it's like, wait times aren't an argument. Just do it like Sweden or Switzerland, whichever one that is. And Scott followed up with Switzerland. Senshini German visitor. I remember you. I remember that name. Aloha Rhino Cirrus in chat. That's cultural appropriation. You shouldn't say aloha if you're German.
Hello, Senshini. How are you?
Okay.
It's better than when the Germans were appropriating nations.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, back to...
You had to consider that for a second. Was it really better?
No, I was considering whether or not to make a joke that is entirely inappropriate for me to make.
Oh, fair enough.
Okay, I don't know if I've officially announced this anywhere, but so ages ago, I had announced on Twitter that I've officially been invited to guest star on God Awful Movies.
Yeah.
It's now been like a year later, and they finally actually scheduled me in, so I'm finally going to be guest starring on there. And so I'm doing like a bit of research, so I'm like listening to their entire back catalog. And Eli is Jewish and will often make jokes of a nature regarding Jewish people that a non-Jew such as myself should not make and cannot get away with. And so like I had several of those like scoot through my head just now. I'm like, I can't say those.
Yeah, there's a...
Rhino mentioned this last week. Maybe I did. I don't remember.
You did mention it last week. You didn't mention the Jewish joke part last week, but
you
did mention everything else.
Yeah, so whatever. I drank more than usual last week, so I'll just blame the alcohol.
Oh, fair
for
enough.
My forgetting.
Because last week you were like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or not, but whatever.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, Anderson's family tried to sue the department on Anderson being the woman who died on her behalf, but workers' comp laws shield employees from wrongful death lawsuits when an employee dies on the job, which is stupid. So they refiled on behalf of the unborn child because in Missouri, it's actually been established precedent that this is something that you can do. Like you can sue for wrongful death of a fetus. And I think that's like since the 80s, that's been precedent. So that's the route they went. And to a point, I don't disagree with that. because this is where the whole choice thing comes in. Like, if you are choosing to have a baby and then someone does something that causes that baby to die,
yeah, you're taking that choice away from
you're taking the choice away. That you can call that wrongful death. But it's about choice in that case. Whereas Missouri responded by basically saying, well, a fetus is a person, right? Well, if a fetus was a person, they were showing up to work every day, so they must have been an employee. There is some like, this isn't like, I mean, I want to make jokes about, like, you know, suing for back pay so that they can get minimum wage for the fetus at least, and benefits and stuff like that.
But that's a legitimate route you could take at this point.
It is, but this is another one of those weird loophole things in Missouri law where dependents can somehow, through like this one weird trick or whatever, be considered employees without actually being employees. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it works. I'm not a law talking guy. I don't know, but there's a list of states that, like, pretty much every state in the union has some form of law that gives personhood to a fetus to some degree. Missouri is among at least 10 states where the personhood language is so broad that it could be interpreted to apply to all civil and criminal laws, which means you put a pregnant woman in jail, that fetus now has the grounds for a wrongful imprisonment suit.
Or you just do the right thing and, you know, put felony charges on the fetus.
Well,
I'm kidding. That's not the right thing to do.
No,
don't do that.
That could be the right thing. That could be the right thing, because if a woman is held hostage by having a fetus when she's not allowed to abort it, like, that could be cruel and unusual punishment. I'm suing my baby for cruel and unusual punishment because my baby is criminally liable for that, and under the law, the baby was holding me hostage and forced me to go through this painful and traumatic medical experience.
I mean, if you want to have the full personhood given to a fetus at every single stage, then sure, we're willing. I guess we'd just be willing to grant that so that these absurdities can all play out in court. And when people are finally done eating all of these absurdities on the chin, maybe they'll realize, oh, wow, this was a fucking stupid position.
Yeah, so here's the thing. In the Roe versus Wade decision, the Supreme Court explicitly stated that the word person does not include the unborn for the purposes of individual rights such as equal protection under the law. So they that's where we get explicitly that fetuses are not people for these purposes. And so when the current Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, they didn't clarify that. So now it's just up in the air.
Remember, Roe v. Wade is a precedent, but not a super precedent. That was
So the fetus was an accomplice. It was present for the mother's crime, and it didn't call the police. No, because the mother was holding it hostage, or the mother wasn't pregnant yet. Like, you can commit a crime and then get pregnant and then get caught for the crime.
There's so many absurdities.
Yeah.
There's assumption after assumption after assumption you have to keep lumping up for any of this to make sense.
Progress only says, wait, the Supreme Court didn't hash out a case fully? Shocking.
Yeah, welcome to America.
Yeah.
This is why we've got the fucking adage, you know what? It's close enough for government work.
Yeah. So this is boundary pushing. So this type of boundary pushing, Sussman said, is invited by inconsistencies in the law like those created by the U.S. Supreme Court Dobbs decision last summer, which overturned Roe versus Wade without addressing the question of when personhood rights begin, which I guess I did just say that. I read this in advance. Can you tell? Actually, these neat little highlighting things, that's like the quote segments.
Mm-hmm.
That's an add-on. I made it happen.
I've actually been meaning to ask what that add-on is.
Yeah, it's called Super Simple Highlighter. And that's all it is. It's a super simple highlighter.
Ah, fair enough.
I'm all about the ridiculous productivity tools that save you like 2 seconds. Like,
so that you can just have that going forward.
You know what? ChatGPT, the main thing I use ChatGPT for is writing auto hotkey scripts to automate just repetitive tasks. So like,
so you have a semi-automated tool to create other semi-automated tools.
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah, we do content creation on very different levels. I hit the record button and then I pray for the best.
Sorry, I've got my dog is sleeping in a very weird position, so I had to take a picture.
Fair.
And maybe if I feel like adding another picture to the thing, I'll share it with the stream at some point.
Maybe.
Yeah, no. I have ChatGPT write auto hotkey scripts for me. So like I do stuff like my source list that I put at the end of or in the description of all my videos.
Yeah.
It's this easy but time-consuming task of like copying the link, pasting the link in my document, copying the title, pasting the title in my document. Now I just press the G3 key on my Logitech keyboard and it does all that for me. I have an issue where like I work off of a network drive, and I have this bad habit of leaving a bunch of Explorer windows open and putting my computer to sleep, and then when I turn the computer back on, I will sometimes have like 10 or 12 windows open, and every single one that was connected to the network drive, it'll be like, oh, we lost the connection, I don't know what to do. And you can't close them all at once. You have to go through one by one and like hit the OK button in that little error message and then close the folder. So I had it write a script that now I can press a button on my Steam Deck and it'll close all of my Explorer windows before putting the computer to sleep. And
fair enough.
Just like little things like that.
Little things that otherwise are really frustrating.
Well, there's like folders that I use commonly. If I click the middle mouse button now, a little right-click menu opens up that just has some of the folders that I use frequently. You know, click on that and it'll open the folder for me, so I don't have to actually navigate to it. It's right there.
Can we charge fetuses rent?
What?
Can we charge fetuses rent?
Oh, good question.
But they're people.
They are people. I mean, so this is a potential loophole for the abortion thing. Fetuses are people. Stand your ground laws are a thing. Fetuses are not wanted in your home. They're a home invader.
That's been my pro-gun argument. For like I've used that argument on my channel a bunch. In terms of just going like, hey, if you like guns, here's stand your ground. But for people, I've had Christian fundies in my comment section get really angry with me for that type of rhetoric, and I'm just like, I don't care. One, it's not the worst shit I've said. Two, it's entirely internally consistent. You can sit there and try to poke holes in it all you want, but your only argument's going to be, but that's different.
Oh, so remember back in June, right after Dobbs happened, the woman in Texas who got the ticket for driving the HOV lane without a passenger?
Mm-hmm.
And her argument was, I'm pregnant, the fetus is a person, therefore I have a passenger?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she got out of that ticket, and then she got another ticket, and then she got out of that ticket too. So the precedent has been set. If you're pregnant, you can drive in the HOV lane alone. In states that consider fetuses to be people.
Well, now I just have to get pregnant, and then I can. Wait.
To be fair, that's not a very high court type precedent. That's just like some traffic court judge who doesn't want to deal with this shit, being like, okay, fine, whatever, I don't care. It's $50 for the fine. Who cares? Go away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like real precedent, but still.
Yeah, but it's enough. It's enough.
Yeah. So then there's other things like the fetal personhood laws. Like we've been going ridiculous in the case of like, you know, employment or rent or stand your ground laws or stuff like that. But then like there's also stuff like if a woman has a glass of alcohol while pregnant, she can now be charged for like endangering a minor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's there was a brief that was filed in Arizona that pointed out that before the Supreme Court allowed Missouri's personhood language to stand, let me actually read the thing. Citing Missouri as a cautionary tale, the brief asserts that not a single woman was arrested in the state in relation to her pregnancy before the Supreme Court allowed Missouri's personhood language to stand. The years that followed brought at least 39 arrests of women for being pregnant and subjecting unborn children to perceived risks of harm, including drinking alcohol, smoking marijuana, or drinking tea made with mint and marijuana leaves to treat morning sickness. Now, I'm not saying you should drink and smoke marijuana and eat marijuana leaves if you're pregnant. That's probably bad for the baby. You should, however, not be arrested for that.
Yeah.
Like my sister, her first pregnancy, she didn't know she was pregnant, and she went to an amusement park and went on all the rides that said don't ride this ride if you're pregnant. Should she have been arrested for that? She was endangering her baby.
I would think that it's a little ridiculous to arrest for that, regardless. Like, I'm sorry, I just in the event that the person goes, hey, this is my child that I am trying to raise, and I'm going to do everything in my efforts to protect it, then that's why we have those rules for when other people endanger the child. But for you yourself doing it,
yeah,
I'm torn on how far we're allowed to go with that.
John's got a good point here. He says, so they arrested the criminal and the victim and put them in the same cell. I guess
that's what you would have to do. Like, that's the reason that it strikes me as hard to contend with those kind of rules and laws, because they do lead to things like, hey, the woman's in the jail cell, technically the fetus is in the jail cell as well. Oh, by the way, also, let's say that we have like severe fines that are located on that are put on here, and then you give birth to your child a few months later, but you're still paying off those fines. You are negatively affecting the livelihood of that child now, and you're doing it for potentially multiple years to come, depending on how big the fines are. Are you okay with doing that? Like, are you okay with impacting their life financially now? It's a fustercluck is what it is.
Anyway, yeah, I think we're pretty much done with this one, but we've been going for a while. We need to move on.
We do.
So, moving on to this one. Women are getting harassed in bathrooms because of anti-transgender hysteria. I don't like that they're using the word hysteria, because like you're trying to be an ally and you're using a word that's rooted in not taking women's health care seriously.
Wasn't it literally a medical diagnosis at one point?
Hysteria was the word hysteria is etymologically tied to the word uterus. I forget exactly how, but it's like I mean, hysterectomy. Yeah. Like, it's basically wandering womb, anti-transgender wandering womb syndrome. Like, I don't like the word hysteria. We can retire that word. There are other words that we can use.
That's understandable. I feel like we're at an age where that particular word is understood to not always mean something going specifically with women, but I understand the etymology.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, that's one of those things where like it doesn't mean that anymore, but like, it's close. It's still close enough that it's like, let's go with Savage Cobra's idea of saying something like moral panic, or in this case, stupidity would also work.
Stupidity would definitely work.
Yeah. Also fun, as fun as it is to say that women used to go to the doctor and they would like give them like the doctor would finger bang them until they had an orgasm as a treatment for hysteria. That's not actually very widely evidenced. Like, there wasn't actually a wide practice of that. Like, there might have been one or two doctors that were kind of like, oh yeah, we can cash in on this, but like it wasn't a common practice. But anyway,
I'd actually not heard that. This is the first I've heard about that.
Have you not heard of that?
I had not heard about that at all.
That's such a common urban legend.
It's not one that I'd heard, though.
Wow.
Or it's not one that I had retained at the very least.
I was about to Google that so I could show you, but then I'm like, no, that's the kind of thing that if I
That's
Google, I might get taken down off of YouTube if I Google that without checking first.
This is why I Google things on a secondary monitor, and then if they're safe, I'll pull them to the primary.
Usually I'm Googling stuff that is probably okay.
Right, but that probably is doing a lot of work sometimes, I think.
Okay.
But, okay, so women getting harassed in bathrooms for anti-transgender hysteria. Titling aside, I've seen a lot of stuff on this where it's usually like, it's cis women who apparently don't pass for one reason or another. A lot of times it's like they have PCOS and therefore might have some facial hair that, you know, they just didn't take care of that morning if they didn't want to, or just they might be non-binary, who knows, who cares. But a lot of times it is people who are AFAB who are getting the brunt of this actually. Yeah. Which statistically makes sense because there are more AFAB people that aren't trans than there are AMAB people who are.
Well, and something that I don't see discussed very often is that it's not uncommon for... Now, I'm not actually going to read this article. I just wanted to talk about this topic, so I brought it up.
Yeah.
Because like they link to data in here. You can, like, this is on Vox. So you've seen the title. You can look this up for yourself if you like. But yeah, no, it's just, it's one of these issues that there are plenty of cis women and cis men who, like, the cis women were assigned female at birth. They identify as women and they're happy being a woman, but they don't pass as a woman. Like, you look at them and you might think like, oh, that looks like kind of a manly woman or something like that.
I mean, ignoring the fact that they're just, you know, there are some women who want to be more masculine without, you know, losing their particular gender identity.
I'm not even talking about like butch lesbians
the cracks here,
or anyone else or tomboys or anything like that. I'm not even talking about that, like those as well. But like, there are cis women who were assigned female at birth and identify as women who do not pass. Same thing for men. There's cis men assigned male at birth. They're maybe a little smaller than the average man. They're kind of scrawny, feminine, whatever. They don't necessarily pass as male. Maybe they have long hair, something like that.
They tend to get harassed a whole lot.
And I would be willing to bet that there are more cis people that do not pass as their preferred gender than there are trans people total.
I mean, again, statistically, that just kind of stands to reason. Like, ignoring the fact that intersex people make up, 1.7% of the world population?
Something
and
like that.
People who are trans, which is not the same thing as people who are intersex, people who are trans make up around the same-ish percent. Just the people who are intersex can fill up that number on their own. Not all of them have the issue of not passing, but that number alone might actually eclipse the data for us.
That's actually another thing about the Florida bathroom bills, is that they actually have a provision for intersex people in there. So like, intersex people are allowed to go into whatever bathroom it is that they've been, I guess, transitioned into. But
if you're going to have the provision at all, then why have the provision if you're going to lock somebody away from it because they...
No, but they have that provision where they're allowed to do it, but they have to be able to prove that a doctor diagnosed them as intersex, and they have to be able to show paperwork, essentially. It's, hey, I want to go use the bathroom, papers, please. Like, the right is always... Like, they go nuts when the left wants to implement anything that would require, like, gun registration. Like, I want you to register your firearms so that we know how many dangerous weapons you have. And they all, oh, that's like Nazi Germany with the papers, please, paper, please. It's like, no, the papers, please is for existing as just who you are. So if you're an intersex person and you need your papers to use the washroom, that would be an appropriate time to bring up the papers, please comparison.
But that's the one that they want. That's the world that they're gunning for.
Yeah, but it's closer to fascism than, you know, just wanting to restrict guns are.
Yep. I kind of hate this.
Yeah.
Like, obviously not good, but just the amount of mental energy it takes to sit there and try to run through, like, okay, how many scenarios is this going to fuck somebody in that's not even the preferred target?
So here's the thing. The main reason I brought this up is because I have put together a list.
Ooh, the doc.
The doc. I've put together a list of trans-related research, and I've actually kind of organized it now. Like, at first, I just threw all the links on there, and then it's like, okay, somebody's going to open this. They're not going to know what to look for. They're going to get overwhelmed. It's like, there's something to be said for just like when someone's just asking questions, but they're like, they're being dishonest about it. They're just trying to make it look bad or whatever. Like, oh, you don't have any data to support it. Okay, here's a whole list of fucking peer-reviewed evidence that proves you wrong. They're not going to read it, but like, at least you have it. Here's a bunch of papers that prove you wrong. And so there's something to be said for that. But I also actually want people to read these things. So I've kind of structured it a little better. So like, if you're looking for something specific, you can go there. So this is at linktr.ee/rhinotransresearch. The link for this is in the description of my video. You remember to put it in your video when you upload this clip to YouTube. But like, this is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. But like, these are some papers that I commonly reference with regards to trans issues. So like, there's the first section is evidence that being trans is real. So like, starts off with an article. This is not a peer-reviewed article, but it's by Dr. Stephen Novella, who he cites all sorts of peer-reviewed literature in his article where he explains biological sex and how he actually considers gender identity to be an aspect of biological sex, because the evidence shows that your gender identity is biologically based. It forms in the brain biologically while you're forming in the womb. So like, your gender identity is part of your sex. So the whole separation of like, oh, well, your gender can change but your sex can't, it's like, it's not necessarily true.
Well, especially considering that we look for more than just chromosomes when we're talking about sex anyway.
Yeah. But then we've got the molecular basis for gender dysphoria. So it's talking about hormonal structures and like how they interact during field development, and like they've found certain genetic markers that are indicative of someone being trans. This is one for one specific genetic marker that is associated with being female to male trans. There's a twin study which found that identical twins are far more likely to both be trans than fraternal twins, which indicates there's a very strong genetic link there. Then there's the sexual orientation, its basis in brain structure and function. That one's not specifically about trans, but he does mention this is my favorite paper. It's published in the journal PNAS by author Dick Swab, and it's he points out that the research as of the publishing of that paper, which was 2008, very much said that gender identity forms in the womb. And so, like, that's the first section. Being trans is real. Second section is that providing gender-affirming care is better for trans people than not providing gender-affirming care. Like, gender-affirming care is the best form of treatment. So this is a whole swath of papers, and it's everything from, like, hormone therapy to puberty blockers to talk therapy to surgery, like any kind of gender-affirming care you can think of. There is a paper in here somewhere that shows that people who receive that care do better than people who do not. So gender-affirming care is good for trans people. There's a section on use of puberty blockers and how, there's a concern about bone density. Evidence suggests that it's possibly a pre-existing condition. Like, there might be a something else going on with trans people that's causing low bone density in trans people in general, not so much in people taking puberty blockers. That's not conclusive. There could very well be a problem with bone density, but like, having a bone density problem is better than suicide.
Yeah.
And there's regret after transitioning. There's a couple papers on how social stigma and minority stress are like basically the main problems for that trans people and LGBTQ people face. So like a whole pile of peer-reviewed scientific literature that I encourage all of you to like go read these articles. Anyone who's just asking questions, drop them this link, see how far they actually get into it, if they even get into it at all.
Should I talk about the experience I had with one of the articles in here here recently on Twitter? Do you think this would be an appropriate place to do that?
Sure. It's Twit tweets.
Sure. Okay, cool. So, I made a post on Twitter saying that because I was at the gym and Fox News was playing at the gym because of course it is.
Oh, is this the interaction I'm already aware of?
Yes, this is that.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, cool. So I was at the gym and I see, Fox News is playing and they have an entire segment just inundated with people bitching about trans people in sports. And under the little header, they have a bunch of different things popping up saying study and the title of the study. Like they just have the titles of studies coming up instead of any actual like substantive information. Like, aha, look, we're talking about this and look at what information we have that shows we're right. So they pull up a study that says that, testosterone has such a high effect during development that is the thing that causes, trans people in sports to be problematic. And I'm like, okay, cool. So you're willing to bring up that study. You're willing to pop it at the bottom of your bar. You're super confident in that. But you hate puberty blockers, the thing that would actually stop the testosterone from having that effect. That's what they do. That is their function. So I made a tweet saying that. It's really funny that, Fox News is pissed about trans people in sports because of the testosterone disadvantage, but they're not willing to allow for puberty blockers, which literally addresses the testosterone disadvantage.
Well, also, okay, I know where you're going, but just if I could tangent for 1 second.
Sure.
What I find really amusing about this is like trans women are literally taking performance inhibiting drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're concerned. Like, I don't know. That's just the opposite of what you're normally concerned about in sports. Like, I'm literally taking drugs that make me perform worse.
I mean, that's why the Olympics Committee has allowed trans women in sports for a while.
Since 2005.
And it's why they have the limitations on testosterone levels even for cis women.
Actually, no. It might be 2002.
But, so I made that post, and then a person I used to have a lot of respect for, Chris Shelton.
A person who's been on my channel.
Decided to make a post under it going, puberty blockers do not even begin to address the inequities in trans sports. It is the trans bodies. What the fuck is a trans body? How is that any different than anybody else's body? But let's ignore that for a second. It is the trans bodies that produce the inequalities. And so I went, okay, are you willing to unpack that? That's all I said is, are you willing to unpack that? No, I am not willing to. 1, I don't have the time to. 2, if I do, then people are going to start saying I'm transphobic, which I'm not. Oh, okay, so
don't be
you're not willing to unpack that. So I show this to you. You grab this article here. You send it to me.
Yep.
And then my response is, okay, understandable, but maybe next time, when the science doesn't agree with you, maybe don't just throw your opinion out there without backing it up. Because and then I linked the article you gave me. Like, by the way, here's a source. And then Chris's response is to go, I will say my opinion whenever I damn well please. Basically, you have no power over me, and then blocks me on Twitter. This is the second time I've been blocked by him on Twitter. The last time was over BLM stuff. So at one point I got unblocked, and now I've been blocked again.
Yeah,
so...
I have. He kind of makes me sad because I used to have a lot of respect for him, but like he gets so dogmatic about certain things and then just refuses to listen to any sort of reason, but like then insists that his position is the reasonable one. But like, And probably the worst part is like he has a pattern of like he will do what he did to you. He'll reply to someone, and then when they call him out for being wrong, he blocks them. It's like, you started this fight, brah. Like, don't start things if you're not willing to carry them through. Like, I'm willing to have a conversation with you, but like, if you just like you like he just wants to throw shade and run away without being held to account for that. Like, no, that's not the way it works. But anyway, I'm gonna have to completely redo my crop because this article ruined it. But yeah, so yeah, if I could just get into like the trans women in the sports debate, I know it, like there's more nuance to it than like this is just one thing. I know there's more to it than this, and I honestly don't care about sports, so I don't want my lack of caring about sports to come across as a lack of caring for the people who compete in sports. So I tend to just kind of step away from that particular aspect of the whole trans thing. I like, as far as I'm concerned, you just let trans women compete as women. But like, maybe there is more nuance to it than that. I don't actually know. But this was a pretty thorough like review of several studies. And what they found is that the evidence suggests that trans women who have undergone testosterone suppression have no clear biological advantage over cis women in elite sports. Okay, that actually tracks, because like how many trans people have actually like successfully won? And I kind of hate this argument, but at the same time it is kind of true. Because like on the one hand, I hate this argument because as soon as a trans person actually does win first place at something, then suddenly it's like, see, they won first place, therefore all trans women should be banned from. It's like, no, they're competing because they want to win.
Yeah, that's not how
like,
we do science ever. We don't point to a single anecdote and then write it into the sunset. Yeah. I did have this argument with a friend of mine a while ago. It's a friend of mine who I respect a lot. It's not like an uncordial argument, but they did make the point that like, hey, you know, there are some scenarios where losing first in a single race or a single sporting event may impact a woman's ability to get like a college scholarship based on their athletic performance. First of all, I don't think that's exactly how that works, but let's pretend it does for a minute. That says more for how stupid fucking college scholarships are as a concept, when we should have college and college education be free in general. That's says more a whole to the other issue, though. Like, that says more to the absolute fucking back-asswards brokenness of that system than it does anything about individual trans women.
Okay, sorry, I just have to bring this up. Blade Runner says last time people cried about trans women at a sporting event, she came in 6th, so much for advantages. The last time I saw people complaining about trans women in a sporting event, it was a marathon where she came in like 2000th. So it's like she wasn't even in the top 1,000 people. Like, I might have the number wrong. I don't remember, but it was like some ridiculously like it was above average. Like she wasn't like below the median, but like she was nowhere even close to first.
So the end result of this particular article for me is, after this, I'm in a group chat with a few other content creators, and maybe we should separate sporting events by something less stupid.
Yeah, well, because that's so. This is I want to read the second thing before you go on.
Yeah.
So one of the key sociocultural findings of this meta-analysis was that policies that impact trans women's participation in elite sport are the continuation of a long history of exclusion of women from competitive sport, an exclusion that resulted in the introduction of women's category of sport in the first place. So, like, if you actually go through and read this report. It's been a while since I've read it myself, so I might have the details a little bit wrong, but my understanding is that the whole reason that women's sports exist as a category is because women were not being allowed to compete against men, and they were kicking their asses when they did. So it's not like the whole division of women's sports versus men's sports is problematic to begin with. So, like, throw trans women into the mix, and, like, well, the division's already problematic. So, like, what does it matter? I don't know.
T with the Goblins real quick says, is it possible to get a link to the report, please? Type in !collab. That'll give you a link to Rhino's stream, and in the description of his stream is a link to this report. But
Yeah, it's at the very bottom of my trans research thing. Like at the very, you can't see it because there's the crop. I fixed the crop.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the very bottom it says trans women in sports, and it's the sole thing in there because I'm lazy and I haven't really looked into it because I don't really care that much. But it is a massive meta-analysis, so it's not like it's just one individual study that looked at like 50 people. It's
an 86-page super doc.
Yeah.
I had to look through it when I was, because there was some person who was like, hey, can you surmise the doc for me after they were really antagonistic? And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do that. Hold on, let's go. But the end result of all this for me, I complained about this in two groups, a group that I'm in with Rhino and a group that I'm in with Xanderhall. And the end result of that complaining in the other group is now I have a collaboration that's going to be happening with Brianna Wu, going over all of this, who actually like goes in and talks to major news organizations and helps to get rhetoric for legislation passed. So like now the end result of this is me going, this was going to be a spite-filled fight with Chris Shelton, and now it's turning into actual productive content, which may say something about my mental state, positive or negatively. I'm not certain.
Okay, so back on top. Well, not on topic. On to the next topic.
Yeah.
Milo Yiannopoulos caught Marjorie Taylor Greene Kanye West campaign cash scandal. Okay, that's a really clunky fucking headline. What the fuck is that?
It's hold on. I've got it pulled up on my other monitor because there's a way that it's supposed to be read. Hold on. Milo Yiannopoulos caught in Marjorie Taylor Greene Kanye West campaign cash scandal. It feels clunky, but it's basically a tabloid article.
No. Wait. No. This needs like a 50s style announcer voice. Milo Yiannopoulos caught in Marjorie Taylor Greene Kanye West cash campaign scandal. I mixed up the words.
More news at 11. Oh, boy.
All right, agitator Milo Yiannopoulos used the credit card for Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's Republican Georgia campaign last November to purchase an internet domain. Okay, I'm not.
I could do it.
Yeah,
voice acting is something I want to go into. I'll do it.
It is also something I want to go into. So when you figure out how to get into it, you let me know, okay?
I mean,
because I don't want to pay voices.com $400 a year when you look into it. That seems to be one of those things that just takes advantage of aspiring actors.
Oh no, you don't do that. We'll talk after the show.
Okay.
Alt-right agitator Milo Yiannopoulos used the credit card from Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's campaign last November to purchase an internet domain for Kanye West's still unannounced 2024 presidential bid.
Okay.
He was reimbursed for the domain transfer.
Let's just fucking speed through this one. He used Marjorie Taylor Greene's campaign credit card to buy a domain name for Kanye West for about $7,000. He then sold the domain name to Kanye West for $10,000. But it's unclear whether he was like skimming that $3,000 for himself or whether that was like a legitimate thing. I don't see how that could be legitimate. And later on, like you get to professional analysts later on in this article talking about how they don't see how it could be legitimate. Like it looks pretty bad on its face. Yeah. His defense for this is, of course, this is always the defense when something like this happens. It's the same defense Ted Cruz gave when he liked a porn post on Twitter. Is, it was a staffer. It was a junior staffer who did it.
It's always an unnamed
junior staffer, yep. But what's even more fun in this one is that Milo is saying that it's someone that he employs. It's not an employee of Marjorie Taylor Greene. But when like push for details on that, it's like, well, how are you affording to like hire an employee when you were an unpaid intern? He claimed that Marjorie Taylor Greene was paying him, but like her financial reports for her campaign do not indicate that she was paying him. So there's some sketch going on here.
I think he still gets a decent bit of money from like his old fucking post Gamergate shit.
Yeah, fine, but like it's still sketchy. The way he's saying that he has a junior staffer when he doesn't, or doesn't appear to. But anyway, probably the funniest part of this for me is that Ye, it's just Ye now. He's been he's been kind of like pseudo campaigning, where he's been like trying to prolong the 2020 campaign without officially going into the 2024 campaign, because like there's stuff you legally have to do if you're actually going to be campaigning, and I guess he doesn't want to do it. But having spent more than $5,000 on a domain name means that he is now legally required to register with the Federal Elections Committee for his 2024 campaign. So this is forcing Ye to register for his campaign when he doesn't want to. And Milo is potentially in hot water for stealing. And if Marjorie Taylor Greene's campaign actually did approve of that particular transaction, that is an excessive and unreported in-kind contribution to his campaign. And so there's some legal stuff that she could get into for that. Oh, but okay, you know what? I almost forgot about this. I'm so fucking glad I thought about this. But I have a clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene right now.
Do you have to show it?
I do have to. It's a good clip.
There are no good clips.
Okay, it's Congress laughing at her.
Okay, fair enough. I'll take it. Let's go.
She presided over Congress for a minute, and this is what happened.
The members are reminded to abide by decorum of the House.
Are they just ignoring her?
Yeah, no, they laughed at her. They laughed in her face because she, who is known for making disturbances and being a shit disturber in general, is now saying the members are reminded to. And what's great about this, I don't know if you picked up on that, but she didn't know how to call for them to, be like follow the rules of decorum. So like the guy beside her,
hitting the gavel on the
no,
thing.
the guy beside her actually like had to like whisper it into her ear so that she could actually say it, and you can hear it on the mic. So I'm going to replay that. I'm going to crank the volume a bit. So don't say anything because you're on the same channel as this.
Okay.
So did you hear that? like that guy.
Kind of hear it.
That guy on the left had to like get up and whisper it to her so that she could remember what to say, and then immediately after he finishes,
the members are reminded
she says
to abide
exactly
by
what he
decorum
said.
of the House.
And then they all laugh at her.
Man, I'm gonna get into Congress so I can laugh at Marjorie Taylor Greene and get paid for it. Oh wait, that's me being a content creator. Actually, I'm never mind. I'm already set up with that.
Sorry, what was that?
I said I want to get into Congress so I can get paid to laugh at Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh wait,
well,
that's already my job.
You have to move into a different district for that.
Oh right, I can't because she's over mine.
You'd have to run against her.
So the last guy we ran against her was basically a Democrat cosplaying as a Republican.
I would like to make a campaign contribution of £1 million.
You cannot pound me one nor a million times. Not here, not now, not ever.
I got a transparent Prince Chuck.
I like how it actually isolates him. That's so weird.
Sorry, King Chuck. He's King Chuck now.
There's a bunch of Sonic fans in my audience that do not need that image.
$1 million Chuck bucks. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
It's 9:36. We're normally like supposed to be done by now, even though we always go till 10. Should we like start to do the tweets?
I think we can do the tweets.
Okay, let's start to do the tweets. Starting off with Cameron.
Yeah,
By the way, Christians and Muslims should work together to combat atheism.
Hey, can we get the atheist pagan alliance against them and just have all out war?
Ocean was tweeting today about how pagans don't appreciate the Bible as much as they should, because there's like all this stuff about like sacrifice. I don't know. I forget exactly what it was, but it kind of made me chuckle.
I mean, that tracks. Need to go kick his ass in Magic again.
How many bucks could a Chuck? How many bucks could a Chuck if okay, you got the syllables all wrong on that.
How many bucks
could a Chuck buck chuck if no, you got to add the buck. How many bucks could a Chuck buck chuck if a Chuck buck could chuck bucks? That's what it's got to be. That
you got a
nice try, but you failed.
Vice Rhino, editor at large.
Yeah, so what I find funny about this, like, he thinks that Islam is wrong. So why would he team up with Muslims against atheism? Why would he not team up with atheists against Islam?
He's trying to do the same like political alignment shit that happens with like the socialist and the communist don't agree with each other, but they both agree capitalism bad, I guess.
I have a theory here. So
is it that he envies how Islam treats women?
Well, maybe, but he made a bunch of posts like this about Catholicism right before he announced that he was now Catholic.
Didn't he announce he was Catholic around the same exact time SJ did, too?
He was shortly after SJ, I think. He has since stepped back from that and said, we're no longer discussing denominational stuff. I think he probably lost a lot of Protestant donations, if I had to guess. But I mean, he also made up a bunch of Catholic ones. Like I did a like kind of a mini analysis of his finances shortly after that happened. And like, man, I want to be a bad guy because like he gained thousands of dollars a month from Catholics.
I mean, to be fair, they literally pay a pedophile ring willingly every month already.
Yeah, that another report came out. I think it was Illinois. Was it Illinois?
There was like 100 something suspected, and it came out there were like 400 actually, or something.
No. 100 was the list the Catholic Church provided. They're like, oh yeah. Here's the list that we have that we keep and don't turn into authorities automatically for some reason. But because we turned it in when you asked nicely, that makes us the good guys. But also the list was like several hundred names short. And I don't know if this was the case with the Illinois thing because I haven't read the details on it yet. But in the past, it's always been like, oh, you know, it's kind of suspicious that like all of the names of priests that you know have molested children, none of them have molested any children since the statute of limitations would have applied.
And we can put it in here now that you can't prosecute them, or if they're in Chile.
Anyway, how do we even get onto this? Yeah, the Catholic Church is basically a pedophile protection racket, and Cameron is now a part of that. So good for him. You can tell where his values are. And you know what?
His values
given
are
that the
10,
prophet
12 years old.
Okay, given that the Prophet of Islam married a 9-year-old, and they defend that by saying, "Oh, he didn't consummate it until she was 12."
I married 6, consummated at 9. I thought.
Okay, so I knew there was a 3-year gap. Whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. It does not fucking matter. That's so disgusting.
There's a whole fucking bit where he dictates part of the Quran while she's having her period blood in his ear or something. It's so
really
charming.
That sounds like a kink that should have stayed private.
Kind of stored in the spine.
Like that's not something I'm going to judge you for if you like to do it, but like you don't need to write a book about it. And that's how 50 Shades of Grey was born. Actually,
Twilight fan fiction gone bad.
Have you seen the Bear book? I posted about it in the group chat. Did you see that?
I don't think I did.
So I just found out about this myself. Let's see if I can. It was a little while ago. Scrolling. Okay. Oh, it's just called Bear. It's by Marian Engel, and it has It's won the Governor General's Award for Canadian Literature, which is basically like the Canadian Pulitzer Prize. And it's a romance novel of a woman and a bear. And if I could just read this excerpt for you. "Bear," she cried, "I love you. Pull my head off." The bear did not, but her menstrual fever made him more assiduous. She was half afraid of him, but drunk and weak for danger. She took his thick fur that skidded in her hands, trying to grip on his loose hide, but when she went deeper into it, she encountered further depth. Her short nails slipped. She cradled his big, furry, asymmetrical balls in her hands. She played with them, slipping them gently inside their cases as he licked.
What?
And
I thought white women only went for horses.
And it's a literal bear. Like not like
it's bestiality.
Yes, it's a bestiality porn romance novel, and it won the Canadian thingamajiggy.
Who is sitting there reading that going, yeah. Who?
I
don't find me that person. I just want a restraining order.
Anyway, okay, so you know what? We're going to get a palate cleanser. I said that I would see if I could get the Puddles picture up. So this is Puddles. This is how Puddles was sitting when I was all distracted and had to take a picture.
Jessa was asking about what kind of dog.
It's a cockapoo, Cocker Spaniel Poodle mix.
Nice.
I don't know. She's a crazy little bitch, and I can use that word because that's the biologically appropriate word. You don't sound like you approve.
Sounds like we need to get away from this Cameron tweet because it brought in a lot of things that I didn't want to hear about, and yet somehow are all here, and you're paying for my therapy.
I'm paying an exposure.
I'm the bigger streamer.
I wasn't talking about that kind of exposure.
I don't need you. You need to close that jacket right now.
Okay. Strawberry Narwhal said most people are okay with kids knowing that gay people exist. You're the weirdo because this was in the middle of an argument or whatever. Linda said, who's the weirdo? Leave the children alone. Children are innocent and should be removed from those who choose an alternate lifestyle. There's enough confusion in their lives caused by people like you.
All right, so there was a tweet I saw that I should have screen capped so that I could use it in response to this, but I forget who said it, but they said like, hey, goth, like the goth scene, please pay attention to what's happening to, trans people right now, because it's only a few hop skips and a jumps before it comes to you. Like,
to the goth
scene? This is the type of rhetoric that goes to that, because being goth can be considered an alternative lifestyle. This is the type of rhetoric that leads directly to that.
See, now my thoughts when I saw this were, now this might be influenced by the video I'm working on. It's one of the ones that's going to get a bunch of comments telling me to stop being political and just focus on religion like I used to. But so one of the things I ran into was a meta-analysis of a whole bunch of studies on outcomes of children of hetero-cis couples versus LGBTQ couples. And they found overwhelmingly that the LGBTQ couples did, in most measures, they did exactly the same as the children of cis couples. In the measures where they did not do the same, the LGBTQ kids, or the kids of LGBTQ couples, did better than the kids of cis hetero couples. Excuse me. So, yeah, if you actually care about children, it seems like having them all adopted out to LGBTQ families would be the best way to care for them, because they do better there.
Yet it's harder for LGBTQ people to adopt.
Well, now, one of the caveats of that study was that most of the studies they looked at were conducted in countries where acceptance of LGBTQ people was significantly higher than the States. And so they don't, and when you do the same kind of research in the States, you might find slightly worse outcomes, but that's not because of anything inherently wrong with LGBTQ people or them rearing children. It's hard to be raised in a situation where people are going to be putting social stigma on you. Which, again, go to... I should do a forward for this. I'll make it like research.vicerhino.com, but for now, go to linktr.ee/rhinotransresearch and scroll mostly to the bottom. There's 2 papers I have on social stigma on minorities, talking about how minority stress is a huge factor, that basically everything that people will use as fearmonger, gay people do worse psychologically. They don't raise psychologically healthy children. They whatever.
Because of social pressure.
If it's ever accurate that they're saying something like that, it's because of minority stress. Because living in a society that constantly vilifies you and dehumanizes you is not mentally healthy. Because that's just how it is. Blade Runner says, please don't call them goths, call them emos.
Goths, no.
I thought
Blade
goth
Runner.
and emo were two different things.
They're separate things.
Yeah.
There's goth culture, emo culture, and scene culture, and they're all very different.
I like gothic architecture.
I like gothic artwork in general. It's probably one of the reasons I love Batman the Animated Series so much.
No, Mark Hamill's the reason I love that.
I mean,
best Joker ever.
I agree. I agree.
Oh, there's a movie he's in that like. I just saw a preview for it. I forget what it is, but he looks like the best. Like, I forget what it is, but it's like some comedian put the movie together, and my partner was like when I said, "Oh, that looks like a fun movie that I actually want to see," she was like, "I showed you videos of that comedian, and you didn't think he was funny." I'm like, well, no, he's not the reason I want to see it. I want to see it because Mark Hamill's there, and he looks friggin' amazing in it. Like he's. Everything that Mark Hamill said was actually like really funny and delivered perfectly. Whereas like this comedian guy was just like, yeah, whatever. He's kind of funny too, I guess. But like Mark Hamill is the one that I.
You're there for Hamill.
What about e-moths? So you need to remember to charge your moth every night, otherwise it won't be able to fly around.
They're talking about.
I know. It's a portmanteau of emo and goth. But I see e-moth, and I'm thinking electronic moth. So, like, you got to charge your moth at night if you want. Moths are nocturnal, so you got to charge it during the day so that it can fly around at night.
Moths just want lamp. Moths just want lamp.
Yeah, I actually have a camping, like, moth attracting killing lamp or whatever inside my house because we get moths all over the place. What about the iMoths? Well, they're an Apple product, so I wouldn't know, and I don't care because Apple products are overpriced and kind of crappy.
E-moths are off-brand iMoths.
All right. Ray Comfort says, okay, this was about Tina Turner, who just died today, I guess. Said, the queen of rock and roll passed into eternity today. All the money that Tina Turner possessed, all her fame, all her awards and accolades now mean nothing. The only thing that matters is, were her sins forgiven?
Oh my God.
Always keeping it classy, Ray, with the like, this cultural icon has just died. So let me say that her entire life was meaningless, and the only thing that means anything anymore is maybe she's burning in hell forever. What a fucking asshole. Like, do these people not see that this is just an asshole move?
No, they don't. Because when I was a Christian, this is exactly what I would have done. In fact, I have said worse when I was a Christian. So
I was a pretty diehard Christian. I would have never said something like this.
When I was a Christian,
like I would definitely have thought something like this, but I wouldn't have said it because I had tact. It's like,
yeah, I don't have that.
I had gay friends, and I'm like, I don't approve of your lifestyle, but I wouldn't say it to them because that would hurt their feelings. And the Bible says, judge not lest ye be judged. It's not my job to judge them. It's God's job to judge them. So like,
I used to say fucked up shit like when a friend of mine got assaulted. I said like, hey, that is horrible, but God had that happen so that you would have the tools you need to save somebody else when they're in a similar scenario. Not realizing that was literally me saying God made rape happen and he's going to make more of it happen, but it's good for reasons.
Yeah, Christianity's fucked up.
I made some pretty awful fucking decisions from a religious perspective. But
conservative Christianity is a ghoul-making machine. Yep.
Yep, it is.
You betcha. Okay, this was a comment.
No!
This was a comment.
No, it's this fucker.
You actually know this guy? I don't. This was my first...
He responds to every video of mine. Every fucking one.
Nice. He finally made it to my channel. Maybe he makes it to my channel frequently. I don't know. I actually usually forget that the watering hole even has comments because like I read the live chat and the streams get like 100 views after it's done. So we don't get many comments on my end. But like I saw this one as I was setting up the stream today and was like, ooh, I'm going to take that. It says, the reason love and beauty is objective is because people's minds can be corrupted by the world and what they are taught. So beauty is objective, because minds can be corrupted. That makes zero sense.
The mind is separate from the thing it is beholding. A thing can be beautiful to one mind and not beautiful to another.
That makes zero sense. Fucking zero sense. For example, you can feel like wanting to hurt someone and think it is okay, which is not, and think something is right when it isn't. That's not beauty. That's morality.
This is the person who, when I made my video saying like, hey, there's a homeless trans person in Florida, I'm about to go grab them. We're going to run a fundraiser so that they can get out of the country. Like when I made that announcement, their response to that video was cry more. This is a cruel person who I believe deserves to chew on bricks for the rest of his life.
Okay, so we can ridicule them. That's what we're here for.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Jassa says, do you read the live chat? Ooh woo. I don't read the live chat. I don't read all the live chat. I like pop back and forth and I'll notice things occasionally. But like, yeah, often you guys are having conversations that I'm completely unaware of. But I do try to keep up, but I'm not good at multitasking. But anyway, the last sentence is really why I picked this one, because it just made me laugh. I love it. Which the left doesn't seem to get when they threaten people by telling them to drink mercury or wanting them to die. Who... Like,
I did tell him. I did just say he can chew on bricks for the rest of his life. To be fair,
okay, but like that's not mercury. Drink mercury. Like, is this like anti-vax thing where some vaccines have thimerosal, which is a compound that contains mercury? But
I think it's more that there are. So if I were to steel man entirely, there are people on the left who will respond. And to be fair, I have. To this person specifically, I have had YouTube moderate a comment of mine.
Go Habs. Sorry.
Where I have,
go on.
I have literally said, fuck off and die.
Yeah.
To be fair, there are people on the left whose response to constant harassment is then fucking die already. I've seen it, and a couple of times I have been it.
The wanting them to die thing, I'm not taking issue with that. There are people that I want to die. I have been candid about that on these streams, that there are people in this world that I actively wish for a meteor to like smash into their house and just like hit them in the head and no one else, and they are now gone. There are people that I wish for that to happen to. I will be a happier person if that happens to some of those specific people. It's a very small list, but
it's a list that exists.
Yeah. So like, I'll give them that, but like I don't even know what the fuck the drink mercury thing is referring to, unless it's an anti-vax thing with regards to the thimerosal, which if I could just quickly throw out there that if you think that thimerosal is the same as mercury, then I got news for you about table salt and chlorine. Because, like, chlorine gas, the biological weapon or the chemical weapon that is banned by the Geneva Accord, that stuff's in your table salt.
Well, I mean, and you can make mustard gas just super easy as well. Do you have Windex?
Okay. I once worked in a kitchen where we had to evacuate because the person who was running the dishwasher decided to I forget what exact chemicals they were, but he put bleach in the dishwasher and then used like a limescale remover thing or whatever. Like, I think he threw like one acid in there with the bleach.
It's ammonia with bleach. As long as you have ammonia and bleach, you make mustard gas. So that's what that mixture was.
Okay, Creepy the Axolotl says fuck the Habs. So like, they posted earlier saying, "Hi Rhino, the Leafs are the best team." I don't care about sports, so I just root for whoever everybody in the room is not rooting for. Because why not? So, he says the Leafs are the best team, so that's why I said go Habs, because I know all the Leafs fans hate the Habs and all the Habs fans hate the Leafs. And my Mrs. Rhino's brothers live in Montreal, so they're Habs fans. And so I always pretend to be a Leafs fan whenever they're visiting. Okay, Zarask says, my aunt accused college of corrupting my mind. I'm an auto tech. Practically the whole school was transphobic, homophobic. Good old boys. Yeah, so...
They didn't do a good enough job.
Apparently not.
Something. Freaking in my chat, Batman lover Trump 316. For the Lord so loved the world that he sent Donald Trump to be impeached for your sins.
Did you see Trump's statement that he sent to the Attorney General?
I have not. No.
Oh, he's. I mean, in theory, he had a lawyer write it for him, but it looks like something he would have written himself. So I feel like he had a good deal of input into it. But like, it's like a legal request to the Attorney General, where he's saying like, oh well, you know, I have been treated so unfairly by the January 6th committee. Unlike Biden, who has not been treated unfairly with regards to the laptop and Hunter Biden.
Oh my fucking
it's
God.
so ridiculous. Let me see if I can find it.
Have you seen the TikTok videos where a dude's just like saying random calamities that are happening and then blaming them all on Hunter Biden's laptop? My chicken tenders came out cold. Why is that? Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah, sounds about right. I'm trying to. This is one of those things where like everybody just like all the reporters are copying off of whoever did it first. And of course it's the Wall Street Journal who wants me to subscribe in order to see the article. Come on.
Is it Wall Street Journal or WAPO that I have one to? I was gonna say one of those sub ones I have one to. I could just
So fun trick to get around news site paywalls that doesn't always work, but frequently works. If you look them up on archive.org, that will often get you past the paywall.
You know, it's another one that can sometimes get you past the paywall. As they are loading in, hit the stop button on the page load.
Yeah, you have to get the timing right, though.
Yeah, I play a lot of video games, though. Nishi's also pointing out you can use inspect element as well.
Okay, so this doesn't... Okay, I'm on the New York Times. They don't have the screenshot up, but I did see the screenshot, so I can verify that this is a true... Well, I mean, it's the New York Times. They're probably more reliable than me. So he says, unlike President Biden, his son Hunter, and the Biden family, President Trump is being treated unfairly, the lawyers for Mr. Trump, James Trusty and John Rowley, wrote to Mr. Garland. No president of the United States has ever in the history of our country been baselessly investigated in such outrageous and unlawful fashion.
Really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I don't know if I believe him.
That is a good instinct. You should never believe him. Anyway, Frank Turek says, one of the reasons we can communicate is because we have these immaterial laws of logic grounded in God's nature that we use as a bridge between minds. We didn't invent the bridge, but we use the bridge. The thing is, the God that he believes in, his nature, it violates the laws of logic. Like, the Trinity is inherently illogical. Like, it violates the law of identity and the law of non-contradiction, and what's the other one?
But don't you
Excluded
understand?
middle.
God's able to do that because he himself, as the one who wrote the laws, is not subject to the laws.
No, Cyrus. The laws exist because they are concordant with his nature. He could not be another way.
But that means he's not all powerful.
No. Because it's his nature. It's not that he couldn't if he didn't want to. It's just that it's his nature to not want to. So
he can't go against his
It's
nature?
the Euthyphro dilemma with logic instead of morals.
God sucks.
That's all it is. But like, yes, Savage Cobra says Frank Turek has logic. No, he doesn't. Epigenetics is the structure of the cell. Yeah, no, the laws of logic are just how we describe how the universe works. They're descriptive, not prescriptive. We see that the universe operates this way, so we describe it with the laws of logic. If the universe operated differently, we'd describe it differently. That's all it is. We didn't invent the laws of logic in the sense that we invented how the universe works. We invented the language to describe it, though.
Yeah.
God's nature is like, Jesus is God, the Holy Spirit is God, and the Father is God. But none of them are the same, but they're also one, and it's only one God somehow. Like, no, that violates the law of non-contradiction. It violates the law of identity. Those are 2 out of 3 of the laws of logic that are violated by God's nature, and yet we're supposed to get the laws of logic from God's nature. If you want to claim the Trinity makes sense, you can't say that we get the laws of logic from God.
Please tell me there's not more.
Um,
You have an affinity for causing me psychic damage with these.
There's a couple more, but they're like just like private Twitter battles that I was in. We can skip them. It's okay, I can go over them quickly. So this is a guy that I've muted multiple times and then like unmuted. Like, you know how you
got bored.
Yeah, like, you know how you see that like somebody replied to someone that you muted and you're like, I wonder what that one said. Oh, it's that person or whatever. So like I've done that to this guy a couple times. So I got into a bit of an argument with him yesterday and today. So he agreed. Well, okay, I'm saying I actually don't know. This is a person that would benefit greatly from pronouns in their bio because Velix and that avatar doesn't actually say anything. I'm assuming he because, come on, let's face it, most transphobes are he. But, you know, it might be she, so they. I'm going to use the singular they because that's naturally what you do when you don't know someone's gender. So they agreed that there's a genetic cause for transgenderism. Trans is a real thing, caused genetically. Great, they agree to that. But then later I see trans as a faith claim, the same as any unprovable religious claim, except that everyone is expected to believe their claim is fact or else be labeled as a bigot. Thing is, trans people exist. You agreed they exist. The cause is genetic, so it's not like they're choosing to be trans. They just are trans. That's just who they are. And so then it becomes a matter of like, well, it's not your business whether or not they are actually trans. If someone introduces themselves to you as a man or a woman or whatever, it's not incumbent upon them to prove that they are who they introduce themselves to you as. That's just who they say they are. So it's like, okay, fine. Like, unless, like, there's really no reason to question someone when they like, oh, hey, my name is Vice Rhino. I'm a dude. Okay.
There's
like prove that I have a penis. There are trans men who were assigned female at birth that look more manly than me. So, if you can't prove that I have a penis, then
I mean I could prove it, but that would be assault.
I was gonna say I when you said that, I'm sitting here thinking, did I ever send one of those like those videos that I had to censor for YouTube? Did I ever send an uncensored one to you guys? So I don't think I did, but that sounds like the kind of thing I would accidentally do.
Jesus Christ! It's like when you're looking at stuff like this, you have to ask yourself, how many contradictory beliefs can you hold at the same time? If being trans is a faith claim, then it's not genetic. But if it's genetic, it's not a faith claim. Which one of the two?
But that's the thing is like they're basically saying, I don't know your genetics. Therefore, when you tell me that you identify as trans, that is a faith claim. I have no way of verifying that you are in fact genetically trans. But it's like at that point, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, unless you're their doctor or something, you don't need to know. You like just fucking treat them like a normal human being. Plow King says, Rhino, don't dix yourself again.
Falcon Fan of my chat just went, hi, I'm Falcon Fan, and I have a vagina.
Right, well, that's the, like, I don't, you can't prove that I have a penis unless I show you my penis. And most people in daily interaction probably don't want me to do that. So, like, why does it matter? Like, most people would just believe me when I say I'm a dude. Why would anyone question it? Like, what if I am trans? What if I've been trans this whole time?
So I'm not gonna lie, there are actually some creators who I became friends with over the last like few months. I had no idea that they were trans because it's never been a part of them, their content, their conversation, anything. And finding out they was like, oh, well, that's not world shattering, but that's also news.
Yeah. There is nothing about me that a trans man could not achieve. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know. Like, I can't even think of an example that might be like trans men get facial hair.
Mm-hmm. And there's phalloplasty, so there's the dick.
Well, I mean, I haven't shown anyone that, not publicly at least. So, like, prove that I have one. Maybe I don't.
Hold on.
You don't know.
I need to go into our DMs real quick and see if I can find, because I'm pretty sure I'm kidding.
No, sirs. Those were generated by AI.
Oh, true. You're right. And they folded into the not folds of foreskin,
Yeah,
but
the blanket
folds
dick.
of cloth.
The blanket dick. I would like to wrap myself up in my foreskin when I go to bed at night. Okay, I need to get going. It's 10 after 10. It's late. This was the last tweet. So, happy foreskin blankets. Goodbye.